Why is he still chair of the committee? And why is he even on the committee? In a new Congress, if it's a new majority, he will not be.
But clearly, the origins of this whole smear are from the Kremlin, and the president is only too happy to have Kremlin help in trying to amplify it.
2 years ago, Schiff stated the emails found from Hunter Biden were whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. That's what the head of the intel said.
That this information Rudy Giuliani is peddling very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign?
Well, we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. That's been clear for well over a year now.
But if you recall, Jonathan Turley has an article written, I believe, in October 2020, after Schiff said this to the American public. And remember, the election's in November. But the director of national intelligence, John Radcliffe, said no, that's not the case. That there is no intelligence out there to base it upon what Adam Schiff, as the chair of the Intel Committee, was telling the country. And what did we just find out yesterday from the New York Times? Yes, it is Joe Biden's laptop. And yes, Adam Schiff lied to us one more time.
The New York Times has authenticated emails that appear to have come from a laptop abandoned by Hunter Biden in Delaware. The president previously said that the New York Post story about this was a bunch of garbage and that it was a Russian plant. Does he stand by that assessment?
I've pointed the Department of Justice and also to Hunter Biden's representatives. He doesn't work in the government.
Why is he still chair of the committee? And why is he even on the committee? In a new Congress, if it's a new majority, he will not be. You cannot make this committee political. You cannot use it as a position of a chairman to lie. And you should be focused on what the American people want you to be focused on around the world. How did you miss Afghanistan collapsing? How did you miss
President in the Oval Office holding up a copy of the New York Post touting this conspiracy theory? It's made its way all the way to the commander-in-chief with a big smile on his face.
I think we know who the driving force behind this smear has been all along, and it's been the president and the Kremlin.
How have you missed every single part? Why? Because you're out lying about an impeachment and everything else. That's not your job. That's not your role. And we should be able to trust the chair of the Intel Committee to be honest with the American public, regardless of what political realm is in.
Wolf, I wish the intelligence community was at liberty to tell the public more. But we do know this. The Russians are once again actively involved in trying to denigrate the vice president. Donald Trump is helping them. And we know that they are amplifying the president's misinformation.
Who have done business with his family, and can you explain to us what this $3.5 million was for?
I don't have any confirmation of the accuracy of that report, so I have no more further details.
Anything about the conflicts of interest, though, how he's navigating those when deciding sanctions?
What would be his conflicts of interest?
Well, his son's company allegedly got $3.5 million from...
Which I have no confirmation of, and he's continued to sanction oligarchs more than we've ever sanctioned in the past, so I'm not sure that's a conflict of interest. Go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a question about Russia now.
I think we're moving on because we got to get some more people. Go ahead.
My question about the conflict of interest when it comes to China is, last year the first son's attorney said that he divested from a Chinese investment fund controlled by Chinese state-owned entities. We have received not even basic transparency about who bought out his stake, when this happened, and how much money changed hands. Did he actually divest, and if so, can you agree to basic transparency?
He's a private citizen. He doesn't work for the government. I'd point you to his representatives. Thank you.
I
think we're done here. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Well, because it can't be verified.
You want to talk about insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie.
It can't be verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say that?
Because
even the family hasn't.
You asked about Hunter Biden's laptop. You also, in October 2020, dismissed it as Russian disinformation. Do you stand by that assessment?
Again, I point you to the Department of Justice and Hunter Biden's representatives. I'm a spokesperson for the United States. He doesn't work for the United States. Go ahead.
Now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening. And it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people.
Shortly after President Biden's virtual meeting with the Chinese president, First son's attorney said that he has finally divested from a Chinese investment fund controlled by state-owned entities. I was hoping you could commit to basic transparency about that transaction, including the name of the buyer, the dollar amount, and the timing. And the second question is, my colleague Miranda Devine has a new book out called The Laptop from Hell, and I was hoping that you could confirm that the laptop is indeed authentic and not Russian disinformation, as you seemed to suggest on Twitter last year.
On the first, the president's son is not an employee of the federal government, so I'd point you to his representatives. And as it relates to the book, I have neither had the time nor interest in exploring or reading the book. Go ahead, Tina.
The first son's attorney
go ahead, Tina.
Give any
I think I answered your question. Go ahead. You can go to the representative of the person who's not an employee of the federal government. Go ahead, Tina. I think we have to move on.